Hello friends, in this lesson I am going to discuss about dialogue writing, another very important topic in writing skill. This topic is really important for all the school students and college students as well, especially useful for 11th and 12th class students. So let's start the discussion. Students, in dialogue writing, this activity is related to speaking skill, but we have to write the dialogue in a proper way. So definitely dialogue means definitely two persons or more than two persons are there. Okay. So which thing we should keep in the mind when we try to discuss the dialogue, when we try to create the dialogue? Let's see. First of all, let me tell you what we are going to discuss in this lesson. In the very first step, we need to understand what is dialogue means. So the concept of dialogue should be clarified in a proper way. After that, we have some steps of dialogue writing. So after following such steps, we can easily create a dialogue in a proper way. And at the end of the lesson, we have one very important example for this dialogue writing. So let's start with the concept of dialogue. Before we start dialogue writing, we need to understand what actually dialogue means. So dialogue means it's a verbal conversation between two or more people. So two things are very important. Number one, it is a verbal communication or verbal conversation. Okay. And second and most important thing, we need two or more than two people for this verbal communication or verbal conversation, right? So the concept of dialogue is very simple. With the use of language, okay, with the use of speaking skill, we need to discuss, we need to have a proper verbal conversation between two or more than two people. But in this question, we have to imagine the conversation and then write in a proper way or in a proper format. Now, let's have some information about why dialogue writing is important. Now, you can easily say that this is the question in the question paper. But apart from that, dialogue writing is really important for the sake of growing academic growth of the students. Especially two reasons are there. Number one, the colloquial way. Now, what is the meaning of colloquial? It's an ordinary or familiar conversation. Most of the time, we thought dialogue writing is all about so much formal dialogues, but at the same time, we need to understand which type of language, which types of words, vocabulary we used in the ordinary way or in a familiar way. Okay, so it depends on your dialogue happened with whom. Okay, so if your dialogue is with your parents, so definitely your language is very much familiar. At the same time, if you are dialoguing with or you are speaking with a principal, then your dialogue should be in a proper framework. You have to select the proper vocabulary as well as wordings, right? And the second thing, easy and natural construction. When you write dialogues, it should be easy and look like natural constructions. Okay, because most of the time we are using such types of words which we never used before in the discussion, and especially for that purpose we use that words. So we should avoid such types of things. We can use in a flow language in a flow. At the same time, we should use natural and easy constructions of wordings and sentences, okay, in the dialogue writing. Now we have some important characteristics of dialogue. Okay, so let's have discussion about these 5 most important characteristics of dialogue or dialogue writing. Number 1, your dialogue should be spontaneous. This word is really important. You know what? We have one definition of poetry by William Wordsworth. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions. Okay. Why I am telling you these things? Because this word spontaneous is very important. Means in that particular moment, what you think, it really matters, right? And therefore, spontaneity is a quality of a good speaker. As per the requirement of the time, you can change your way of speaking, you can change your topic. At the same time, you need to change the content in a proper format. Okay, so definitely spontaneity, or your dialogue should be spontaneous, then it look like very natural. Okay, number 2, natural. Your dialogue should be natural. It look like natural way of speaking, you know. And therefore, how can we make it more natural? With using of exclamation marks or exclamatory sentences and questions. Because just think, in our day-to-day conversation, we used questions, exclamatory sentences, statements, you know. And therefore, in the dialogue writing also, we can use same type of thing. Okay. And number 3, it should be interesting. I mean to say, it must not be boring or dull, because that is the core problem of dialogue writing. Okay, most of the time we are writing in such a way it look like very dull. Okay, so our dialogue should be interesting. And how we can make it more interesting? With proper opening, proper initiative lines, initial wordings, at the same time, perfect ending, perfect termination, or what we call conclusion. Okay, so we should be careful about these 2 things, opening and the conclusion or the termination point of that dialogue. Okay, so then we found that it looked like more interesting as compared to other dialogues. Okay, 4th characteristic is impartial. When you try to discuss about a particular issue, you should not take one type of viewpoint about that particular issue. I mean to say, you should not be partial about a particular issue, about a particular topic, or any other thing, maybe person. Therefore, your dialogue look like impartial. You have to perform the role of a speaker. You look like impartial about that particular topic, about that particular person. Okay. And last but not the least, very important, your dialogue should be concise. It is really important, because we have to write dialogue in a particular framework, in a particular limit. We should not extend it in a long way, pages and pages. Okay, within a page or front and back page, we have to finish that topic with a proper discussion. Means in that discussion, we need a proper beginning, middle point, and ending point. So the point is, your dialogue must be concise. Okay, that is very important thing. Now, let's have discussion about the 3 most important steps of dialogue writing. The first and very important step is, as a dialoguer, we need to imagine. Okay, first of all, we need to imagine. Just take a question, okay, or just think in this way. Suppose the question is all about your dialogue or your discussion with your teacher. About what? About your examination. Okay, so you need to imagine which thing I should discuss with my teacher. Okay, what points are really matters, which points are really important in that discussion. We have to decide it in that imagination. Okay, this imagination means nothing but the planning of that whole dialogue writing. Okay, so this step, first imagination, is really important. What we call it is the base of that dialogue writing. Okay, after that, second and most important thing, that is outline. We should have a proper outline, proper framework of that dialogue writing. For example, if your dialogue is going on with your teacher, then it is not simply that your teacher is going to speak and you are simply passive listener. Not at all. You have to speak. Okay, means your dialogues are one by one, means for students, then teacher, then again student, then again teacher. It look like that. Okay, so the framework is very important, the outline is very important. Okay, and the third and most important step, that is arrange, or what we call arrangement. About what? Arrangement about what you already plan about that dialogue writing. Okay, so that arrangement means, in another word we can use to say, it is utilization of that dialogue writing. Okay, so what you already plan, what you already imagine, outline in a particular way, now this is the time when you have to arrange it in a proper way. Okay, so this three important steps of dialogue writings are really important. You should keep in your mind that, first of all, when I just read the topic, the very first thing is I have to imagine about that topic. Okay. Number two, I have to create an outline in my mind about that topic. It's just take it as a framework. And third and most important step, it is related to utilization, implementation. We have to arrange all the questions in a proper way, all the points in the discussion in a proper way, and then write it in a proper way. Okay, so these three things are really important. Now I have quoted one example here for you student, then you understand how this dialogue writing develops in a proper way. Okay, so we have one example here: conversation between student and teacher after a long time. Okay, so the topic is not clear. Got it? So simply it is conversation between student and teacher after a long time. So let's see. The dialogue starts with teacher. Okay. Teacher used to say, "Good morning, students." Student, "Good morning, teacher." Just I'm going to read the dialogues. You need to understand how dialogue develops. Okay, step by step. Again, teacher, "How were the holidays? Did you have a nice time?" This is question. Okay. Student, "Yeah, it was fantastic, madam. I went to Jammu and Kashmir with my family." Teacher, "That's excellent. So you have to write about your vacation to Jammu and Kashmir." Student, "Sure, madam." So just try to understand the beginning of the dialogue is in a very perfect way. Okay. Teacher, "I hope you gave some time to your studies during the vacation? After all, she is a teacher. Student, yes, madam. I would dedicate 1 hour to my studies. Teacher, that's good. Have you finished the work which I had asked you to do? Student, I nearly finished it. However, I am facing a problem in understanding a few concepts. Teacher, let me know which area needs more explanation. Student, in the last session, you taught me adjectives. I have found that few adjectives are ending with ed, okay, and few of them finishing with ing. But I'm incapable to know which adjective is used at what place. That's the problem. Teacher, the ed adjective or adjectives used to define our feelings, and ing adjectives represents the property of a person or a thing. Again, student, so when I say I'm confused, is it correct? Teacher, no. Confused is the word. If it's your feeling, then you need to add ed to confuse, and it becomes your feeling. Student, now I have learned. Thank you so much, ma'am. Teacher, you are always welcome. So this is a dialogue between a teacher and a student. And the theme is very simple: conversation between teacher and student after a long time. So I hope you are able to understand the proper beginning, middle, and conclusion of the dialogue, and how the dialogue terminate in a proper way. So in dialogue writing, these things you should keep in your mind. I hope so. You understood about dialogue, about the characteristics of dialogues, the very important 3 steps. With the use of these 3 steps, we can create any dialogue, and how a proper dialogue should take place. So I think it's enough for dialogue writing. Thank you so much. See you in the next lesson.